we're seeing, like, I think Lilly is toying with like a direct to consumer model. We see the likes of like Mark Cuban playing with this. We see Amazon getting in the pharmaceutical distribution business. To what degree do those moves that we see happening across some of those companies play into this concept? I mean, in my simple mind, I see those as favorable indications toward change, because at the very least there's a more direct line to patients. Do you agree, or do you see anything problematic there? Or
No, I totally agree. I think it's absolutely a really, really important step here. It's a step towards changing the paradigm. Historically, you've always used the big the drug distributors, and, and that's how business was done. And,
Mhm.
going back to what I said, it was just the way why the chicken crossed the road.
Yeah.
This changes that, and I think you're seeing that. Lilly's been doing that in terms of some of the GLP drugs that they've got direct to consumer. And, I think some of that also lends itself because some of those things are outside of insurance. I think, what Amazon and Cuban are doing are more directed to generics, but I think it does provide the platform that's going to be necessary to give people alternative ways of distributing drugs. I think the control over the formulary is important because that controls reimbursement. You got to follow the cash.
Mhm.
You at the end of the day follow that, which is why I think if you can make the rebates part of a compliance program, I think you can drive some really good outcomes. Um, but and cutting out the middleman by what those folks are doing is going to squeeze out wasteful costs. The question is how you can kind of scale that out and make it much more pervasive to really upset and put pressure on the system. Because right now, I think I'd probably call it more of a gnat and a nuance as opposed to something that's going to really change the way we um, conduct business. And
Yeah.
but I think we also need to be mindful that the way care delivery is going on is changing. I don't think it's as much of us selling a pill anymore or selling an injection. We're selling an outcome. When you look at gene editing or gene therapy or any of those are almost like we're providing a service. It's not as much of the traditional way we conduct. You look at digital pharma. It's all about engaging the consumer and educating the consumer, and the consumer is playing a much more active role. Let's just look at all the commercials we watch on TV when we're watching a ball game. In terms
Yeah.
of informing consumers. So I think we got to extend that and become engaged with them. And I think recognizing healthcare consumerism is here to stay is really important. And the internet and e-health have facilitated this. Biopharma must focus on creating closer relationships with patients as well as the other stakeholders. The step change towards healthcare consumerism necessitates supporting patients on their journey and becoming more engaged and educated in their decision making. I think a lot of times patients are overwhelmed with some of the indications and diseases that they have, and they don't necessarily know where to turn. And I think, other than just selling them a drug, I think you can help them with their patient experience. And I think, it's going to create a lot more loyalty with the consumer.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to drill into that a little bit more on, the biopharma corporate and leadership role, and to what degree they can play a hand in affecting change here. But real quick before I go there, one of the things that I've heard you often wax on is the influence of politic on industry during an election year. So I'm curious about whether or not the fact that, like I asked you earlier, why is this a timely conversation to have right now? We are in an election year. We do see quite a bit of jockeying for position and influence in Congress right now around the biopharmaceutical industry, whether it's around pricing and benefits, or whether it's around who we do business with of Chinese origin, a la the Biosecure Act, which I don't want to get into right now. We'll save that for another episode. But my point is that we see a lot of this kind of positioning happening right now, and I think that's probably influenced by the fact that it's an election year. What impact do you think this year of politics could, in a positive sense, have on at least starting the ball rolling a little bit toward change?
Well, I'd say what is positive is that, that we had that first bill that got approved in the House to lower costs and in Transparency Act. That was really the first bill that I'm aware of that's been approved by the House to kind of hold PBMs much more accountable and ensure health decisions are made by patients and doctors and not driven by middlemen at the end of the day. That certainly is a formal recognition of the issue. The White House has initiated discussions at the end of February on the topic as well. So it certainly seems to be front and center. So I would hope, given that it's an election year, we can use our vote, our influence, and reach out to our senators and our congressmen to facilitate that for everybody's benefit. By the Bio website actually has a place on their website where if you put in your zip code, they got the form letter, and they can really direct it to whoever you need it directed to. So it shouldn't be an investment of too much time, but the impact can be really profound. So I would certainly encourage people to do that. And, to your point, in the election year, people, particularly since they have a target that they both agree on, maybe that's our best protection, is that they're not going to be able to differentiate themselves by beating on us.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the PBMs will bear a bit of that as well as as their profile gets raised as in a more of objective, villainous manner. But, I think it's only going to be natural, that, it's going to put some pressure on the industry. There's going to be talk about for expanding IRA. I think there's also positive things in there that I'm hearing, that they may fix the disconnect between large and small molecules, and may make it a little bit easier for orphan drugs. So I think there's been some general acknowledgement that some of that policy has room for improvement. I think so. I think as part of some of the horse trading, I think they made that there's some positive in that sense. But I do think, we're going to be a punching bag, because that's what politicians do. I think a lot, in my view, it's going to be more noise and balk than bite. Mm-hmm. But that's obviously to be determined.